on Sundays with Subscribers yesterday, we had a great interview with our friend Allie Bradley. Allie Bradley is a border correspondent for News Nation. I mean, she's one of the best reporters in the country covering the situation, not only on the southern border, which she covered extensively for a long time, but now as it's moved into the interior of the country, President Donald Trump's deportation efforts, the resistance of those deportation efforts. Great interview. Highly recommend subscribing and going and watching the entirety of it, because she just really takes this personally. I mean, this is someone who she spent time like traveling with hordes of migrants up through Central America and then watched all this unfold on the southern border. And as we discussed, she, and on this show and on News Nation, she tried to get this message out to Americans of all political stripes that, look, if this mass illegal migration continues and then President Trump gets in and does what he says he's going to do, this is going to be a chaotic situation. This border crisis is going to explode in our cities and in our states if more people don't speak up about the truth of what's happening at the southern border. And of course, Democrats wanted to cover it up. There was a presidential election that took priority over it. And so now we're seeing really and I will say it is chaotic. But I mean, the only reason why we have mass deportations is that there was mass illegal migration. It's the chicken before the egg sort of situation. So here's part of my conversation with News Nation's Allie Bradley. Yes, what we're seeing now is an unprecedented immigration enforcement effort, but it was preceded by an unprecedented flood of illegal immigration. When you were covering that aspect of it, did you ever imagine what we'd be seeing right now?
I feared a little bit because I'm like, if can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. But Trump was very honest for the 4 years he was running, right? He was saying, I'm going to remove these people. I'm going to remove these people. So it was hard to watch Congress not act in the first 2 years that the Democrats did have power, that they could have made economic migration a law or done something, because asylum for economic purposes does not qualify. And that's what we saw. That was 99.9%. They said, we're leaving nothing, trying for something, worst case scenario, go back to nothing. And so I knew what Trump had planned. And I knew that we were going to see what we were seeing. I even did radio interviews and said, it's going to get hard. It's going to be people that it's going to be people who go to your church. Put your head down, because they're saying right now, if you came in illegally, if you're here without documentation, you're going to be removed. And so the writing was on the wall, right? There was no secret. The Trump administration doesn't generally say something and then not try it, at least try. And this is the try we're seeing right now, right? To meet that 3,000 threshold, they need to carry out the biggest deportation that we've seen. They have to beat Eisenhower's 1.3 million. So we'll see if they get there. But the reality is, if you look at the control that the Biden administration did have, they invited 11 million people into the country. They let them into their house. They knew what Trump was going to do. Him and Jill walked out the front door, locked the door, set it on fire, and said, good luck. Yeah. And that's where we're at. And these individuals that came in, they thought they had a chance. They were sold a bag of goods and they bought it, man. They were told come, and they came. And then the Trump administration says, you got to go. There are some migrants that I still talk to that came in the open border. And it's hard because I know them. And, they're telling me they're just trying to keep their paperwork in order. They're just trying to go through their court hearings. So, if they're in asylum proceedings, they're going to go to their court hearings. They're going to do what they can. And in the meantime, they're going to keep their head down, and that's the reality. So it's tough to cover this full circle, because we screamed from the rooftops. Look at this. There were 302,000 people that crossed in December of 2023. That was when we saw 12,000 people in a single day across both borders. And it's like, we saw that. What did you think I was telling you about? Yeah. I was telling you about fun things. I was telling you about things that could impact us later. Yeah. And now we're at later. And so it's frustrating from where I sit, because I tried to tell people, and it's frustrating when crimes are committed by illegal immigrants, because I feel partially responsible that I wasn't loud enough.
No.
There are people that my friends have lost. And I'm like, dang it, man, I tried. I tried to be that voice and to tell people what happened, and it just didn't stop it. And now other lives are being impacted and it wasn't stopped. And so it sucks. to sit there and to know what was going to happen and to know what was happening. And people just refused to hear it. And now they're mad. But they weren't mad back then. And that's interesting.
Yeah, I agree with her. News Nation's Ali Bradley. I mean, she's just so passionate about this issue and she's covered all facets of it. And it is, it's a point that has to be made. Like, look, if you're mad about what's happening and the deportations and raids that are happening, like, what did you think was going to happen when millions of people were flooding across the southern border? Like, did you just think, and maybe you did, and maybe you just thought like, hey, they're all going to get here and be able to live their lives and there's going to be no consequences. But Donald Trump was saying all along, if he got reelected, what he would do. And even Bernie Sanders came out and criticized Democrats a couple days ago and said, you don't have a country without a border. And Democrats have to own that they really fell short. And if even Bernie Sanders can acknowledge that, I mean, how ideologically driven do you have to be not to see that and not to maybe blame Biden for putting these illegal immigrants, as much as it's their own responsibility? But he basically opened his arms and come one, come all, and set them up with this belief that they'd be able to stay here and it wouldn't be a big deal. And now they're being sent back unceremoniously and like everybody's mad at Trump. No, there's a lot of anger that should go around here. So if you want to watch that full interview with Ali Bradley of News Nation, sign up to become a subscriber, undividedpod.com, undividedpod.com. Just click on the banner that says support the show. You can catch up on this episode and other great episodes of Sundays with Subscribers, where we do in-depth interviews on important topics such as this one.